And in the Woodyard, we've got wood in the trailer and we've got an elevator. It's going in the bin. Here we go. So yesterday I ran 3 loads of wood through the processor. This is load number 3. And I got to the end of the day and my shoulders were kind of hurting. I was tired. So I thought I'd just leave it till this morning. So it's morning and I'm going to offload this right now. We're going to start up the generator, run it up the elevator and into the bin. And then we're going to process another load. Maybe 2, we'll see how much time I got. I only got a few hours today before I got to go do another job, so gonna get going. Chop, chop. There it is. Load number 3 is in. That was number 1. That was number 2. So I think I can fit some more in here. Kind of spread. I should be able to get a whole nother load between that peak and this peak, kind of right in this area, and then probably 3 or 4 more going that way. We'll just kind of keep piling it in. Elevator's working great. So what I did this morning, something a little different. Well, I threw out the big chunks over here that need resplitting, and that's from 2 loads over there yesterday, and this is today's load. Some of these, well, a couple of these must have just fell out here. This doesn't need resplitting. This doesn't. This doesn't. And these don't really need resplitting, but as soon as I'm going to be resplitting those bigger ones, I'll do these and just toss them in to be good. So what I did was I threw out all the kindling type stuff that's real small like this. Normally I would just throw it up the elevator or I would leave it in the trash and just chuck it. But a lot of people told me they sell a lot of kindling. So I think it's time for me to start separating the kindling and bundling it. I talked to a guy at one of the shows. I don't remember who or which show it was I was at recently. But he said he sells thousands of bundles of kindling. He said people love it. From what I remember, he said he sells it for, I want to say $8 a bundle. And he does 3 for $20. And he said about half the people buy 3 for $20, and then he sells them in his stands. He's got several locations. So I think it's time I start doing it. So I threw all this stuff to the side here, but there's probably 2 bundles here. So it might be, you know, $15 worth, whatever. And I'm probably going to end up making kindling too, because there's no way that I'm going to be able to pull enough just out from these pieces. But I might as well see what I collect. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into a bladder, not a tote, a bladder. Just one of the plastic containers. I'll cut a hole in it and I'll just throw all the stuff in there and let it stay in there so I can move it around. I'll probably take a pallet, put a bladder on top of it, screw it onto it somehow, and I'll have a bunch of those because Bert's got lots of them to get rid of because a lot of people don't want the bladder. So I think that's what I'm going to do with them. That's kind of what my brother Ken had talked about doing with his kindling that he sells, his cedar. I think I'm going to do it, see if it's worth my while. Honestly, for the amount of time it's going to take me to mess around with it, I think it's going to not be real profitable. Yeah, there's money in it, but how much per hour can you make doing this? I think if I dedicate myself to just making kindling somehow, to where I either have a machine for making it, or I come up with a system where I can make it fast and easy and cheap, that'll be the thing. And I'll probably use a lower grade wood than this hard maple. If I get to producing kindling at any kind of quantity, more than likely I'll use something that's a lower grade wood, like either a pine or maybe a popple or cedar, something like that. Aspen, maybe box elder, soft maple, the stuff that's not your higher grade, the stuff that actually burns easy, that's easy to get burning, that makes good kindling. Willow makes really good kindling. Stuff like that. So maybe that's what I'll do. I've just got to think about it. But we got a good start. It's getting warm out already. The sun's already heating up. And we're going to go process a load of wood right now. So I thought I would do a little talk through, narration, so to speak. Some of you like it when I do this, kind of going through the whole process. Obviously right now I'm just taking the trailer to get rid of the trash. And yeah, I know there's a lot of guys that say, well, that's good wood. You could get some good heat out of that. Yeah, you could. But it's just not worth it for me to pick through. Like I said, I've been picking out the kindling. I've been doing that now for quite a while. And as I'm doing the processing, I throw it off to the side. Actually, I got a bladder now that I'm throwing it into. I cut a hole in it. And then when I'm putting up the elevator, I'll throw the small stuff off to the side. So I'm just putting the trailer in place, I usually try to start with the front, and then as the front gets full, I'll pull it just a little bit ahead and then fill the middle and then the back. So we usually do 3 sections, sometimes just 2 depending on how it goes. And later on you'll see how I use the grapple to kind of move the wood around. Here I'm just backing up to the top of the bladder that we cut off for the trays, and all the trash goes out the bottom. There's like cleaning grates at the end of the splitting trough in the processor, and a lot of the debris falls down through there, so you can see how much. And I think I put both of the trays together. I dumped the front one into the back one, and a lot of times I'll just use the grapple. I'll grab it by the rope, pull it out of there, and then just pull it and flip it, and then whatever. It's a lot easier than doing it manual, because when it's full, it's heavy. It's, I don't know, it's got to be several hundred pounds. And so yeah, I just basically dump it out into the bin, the bunker there, and then put them back in place. And when we put them back, try to get them as close as possible. You'll see here when I slide them in here pretty soon. But yeah, it works really good to collect all the debris. So you can see one is already in place because I had dumped that one out into the back one. And you just got to kind of get underneath that. If you see that little foot down there that bladder just hit, that thing right there, that's what lifts the wedge. That's actually the bottom of the wedge you're seeing right there. And so you got to you got to kind of tuck it in like that, and that way the stuff will fall through. So when I start processing, I tend to stand most of the time when I process. I mean, once in a while I'll sit down, but because I'm doing resplits and because I'm pulling out the small kindling size stuff, you kind of move around a little bit. And I actually like standing. Sitting down, I don't know, after a while my back starts hurting because I hate sitting. I like standing and moving and picking stuff up and moving stuff around. I'm there to get some exercise, not to sit on my butt. And I know there's processors where you just sit on them, but I just like being active and being part of the process here. Hey, there's the tip tray or the last cut tray. A lot of guys ask, how come you never use it? There you go, there it is. A lot of times it's faster for me just to reach in and hold it so that it doesn't drop down. But also if you keep your clamp, the back clamp that clamps the lug, if you keep that in pretty close, it doesn't fall in either. There's a cookie we cut off, and just toss that into the IBC tote, and then the last one. And yeah, that's the other thing too. If you use the tip tray sometimes, or the tip tray, the last cut tray, the log will fall onto it. You can just pull it back and the log falls in there, but I don't know, it's not that hard just to spin it around. It's not that big a deal. Now, I've had guys say that, oh, you know, this processor is so slow compared to the other ones. Well, yeah, it is an entry-level processor. The base price on this is like $33,000. And if you add the elevator, it adds another 8, I think. So it's about a $40,000 processor. And people say, well, those other machines that are so much faster. Well, yeah, they are, but they're also over 80,000. Or they're over 120,000, or they're over 180,000. This has just got a 29 horsepower gas engine, so it's not super duper. I mean, it's 39. I think it's 39, but it's a gas engine, so it's not super powerful. It's adequate. It does an okay job. You can see there I've got the 8-way wedge in. You can see that piece there. It's got like a dog leg. When you get those crooked ones, we call them snakes or bananas. They do all kinds of weird things, and that's when a lot of times you gotta reach in and hold them, or use the last cut tray just to hold them from turning down in. Because you want your cut to stay as square as possible, because what happens is if it tips down, you get a angled cut. I call it a steel cut, where it's pointed on one end, and what happens is it can slide and it doesn't run true when you're pushing it through the wedges. It won't really grip onto the push plate. It'll kind of tend to veer off to one side or the other, or even in the wedges it can do it a little bit. So here you can see a different view when the clamp comes on. Now watch the clamp. See how it's just barely above the wood? That's where you want it. And some guys are telling me in the comments like, oh, you got to get that saw blade all the way out of the way. Well, Sometimes you hit it. It happens. Now another thing, the dangle rod there for the cut indicator for length. Yeah, all that is a piece of fiberglass, and yeah, it's got a couple splits on it because it got caught a couple times, but it works just fine. I mean, a push plate one is better, but again, if you add that feature, for most processors, you're talking at least $1,500 to $2,000. So it can be that. Now that last one I just dropped in there, that's probably more like a 17.5 incher. I could have trimmed a little off for the last for the cookie, the last cut there, but if it's within an inch, it's not a big deal. But yeah, it's kind of getting that rod that's hanging there is just fiberglass. I probably should put some, just told to put some pink tape on it, that might help. But it works. But this is about as fast as the machine goes. So while the ram is going forward, I try to bring the log forward at the same time and try to eye it up best I can for the length so that I'm sticking to 16 inches. So you try to just touch that rod and then cut. And again, if you watch the clamp in the saw, they don't go all the way up. You kind of keep them close in. Here the tip tray, or the last cut tray came in, so you can catch it so the whole log doesn't fall in it. Now a small one, anything that's under, say 12 inches, you can just reach in and hold it. It's not that hard. But when you get a real big one, that makes it hard because they're heavy. That's where you want to use it. So here's just a little time lapse of a log deck, and then I loaded it back up and then went again. So here I'm loading up the live deck. You try to get the pieces as even as possible when you're, grabbing them, but they don't have to be because the width between the strands I think is 6 feet, or is it? Yeah, I think it's 6 feet. So it gives you a foot on either side, which is plenty of room. And I find that it's better, well, that one fell right in the trough, that's kind of convenient. Well, the hard part is not having another one fall into the trough, or the in-feed trough. Because if you get a crooked one, they can roll funny. And what happens, there you go, see, second one fell in. But there's ways to deal with that, but it kind of sucks when it happens. Ideally, if you got someone helping you, you just do a single roll. But here I'm going to come around the back side here. I'm going to do grabbing and pull that one out of there. Now, I could have run it. See, you can't do that with forks. And I was going to place it back in there. That's what's the beauty of a grapple. You can do those kind of moves. With forks, you can't do that. But by having two logs in the trough makes it a little harder because you can't have both of them coming in and being cut because the one that's not clamped down will tumble on you. Here I'm picking out, I think that's a piece of cherry that I picked out of the pile. I'm just going to throw it off to this. Yeah, it's a piece of cherry, I can tell. Just going to throw it off to the side because later on I'll put that into a cherry pile. And then I'm just going to grab some pieces and then bring them over to the live deck, not the live deck, in front of the live deck. I'm going to make a little pile so that I don't have to go over there and get them later. Also, by doing this, I can straighten everything out in front of the live deck so that it's more even when you grab them. So I'm just grabbing all different pieces here. There's a bigger one right there. This is all hard maple, by the way, and I think here, yeah, I grab a bunch here. And then there's a piece of ash. You can see that bigger one kind of right in the front in the middle. I think I'm going to pick that piece of ash out of there if I remember correctly. But you can see over there in front of the live deck, and this is a short live deck. I think it's only like 5 or 6 feet at the most. It's not a real long one as far as depth. So you can't put a lot of wood onto it. But again, like I said, this is an entry-level machine. It's only got 2 strands for holding the logs there. Instead of 3 legs, there's only 2. And it works just fine. And this is made, this size machine, for someone that's going to process anywhere from 100 to maybe 400 or 500 full cords a year. Here I'm just kind of straightening out one that's kind of sticking out too far. Just kind of get the tip of it and pull it in, just the tip. There you go, pulled it back in, and now I can grab those 3 or 4 out front there and then go put them over by the processor. So try to use the forks kind of to scoop a little bit sometimes, but sometimes it's better to pick it up like you're picking a pencil up, like where you kind of come from the top, like you're picking a pencil off a desk. You use your thumb and your fingers to kind of reach down and pick it up. It works pretty good to do that. What's nice about the grapple, as you can see, you can get so much more control than with forks. With forks, you got stuff sliding and twisting. Here I'm grabbing that piece of ash out of there, I think. At least I think that's what, yeah, it's a piece of ash. Oh, and it's a split one too. And those are kind of dangerous ones. If you get one that's shattered like that, it's got a big shatter all the way down through it. They can be dangerous in the process because what happens, you get chips flying all over the place if there's all kinds of pieces that are busted. But that one's fairly solid yet. But if you get a split one, a full log that's not two halves, like that's a half there. If you get a chunk they're together on one end but split on the other, those are the dangerous ones because they can tumble and fly out and all kinds of stuff. I see another piece of ash there. The very bottom front one that's in the pile yet, that's a piece of ash. I think the one on top of it is also a piece of ash. So I'm trying to take those, the hard maple, and put them over onto the live deck area so I can process them. And then the ash, I'm putting over in the ash pile, which is the stuff you see way over to the right there. You get a little guy there, just get him out of the way. So yeah, I'm just doing the prep work. When you got someone with you, they can just keep bringing you logs. Here I'm just pulling some stuff down off the pile. Ooh, can't go anywhere. I must have had too much weight. There you go. I kind of pulled some off. And I did that because it was kind of starting to get where it was going to fall anyway. So I just set these down. And I think what I'm doing is digging this stuff out. Yeah, I'm going to get that ash out of there. You can see that one right in front. Oh, I kind of scraped the concrete there. See, there's a piece of ash in there. If you see that one right in the middle, right there, that's a piece of ash. I'm going to put that over into the ash pile. And it's not that it can't be in with the hard maple, but if it's easy enough to sort, I can sort it, and then all the maple can stay in the maple, and the ash can stay with the ash. Here's just a time lapse. You can see the logs going down, and then here what I'm doing is this is all the stuff that went into the trailer, and it gets real peaked. And I find if I take the grapple and go in there and just kind of scoop into it and give it a squeeze, I can spread it out to the front and to the back. Sometimes you'll even get a load like this, and I can put it into the front, kind of fill in some voids in the front, because sometimes it doesn't fill down in the corners, and by doing that you can get it to fill the corners. And then here I'm just going to reload the live deck again. So those are all the logs that I moved over before, and obviously I ran a bunch of them, and then just going to try to straighten them up here. Sometimes you get too much wood out front and you can't get close enough with the tractor wheels. I back up basically just to line it up so that I can get in. I got one kind of hanging on the front there. I see I'm not even clamped onto it, a little guy there. That causes issues. Sometimes they'll fall crooked on you. I think I got them. Yeah, sometimes they'll roll and go down in there. But yeah, by not being able to go up close enough, you can cause issues like that, because what happens sometimes is, so that's a snaky one, that's what it is. I'm trying to straighten them out there. See that snaky one rolling? Now that's going to be an issue, so I'll have to give that a shove. Those crooked ones just cause so much extra work. They're just terrible. There's just nothing good about them. They're always a problem. And went around it. I just took that snake out of there. So what I try to do a lot of times, if there's one that's real crotchy with a lot of limb parts that are coming off, or if it's a snake like that, I'll take it and I'll put it way over to the side, and we use it. We'll cut that up with a chainsaw because it's just too much trouble in the processor. There you get one that went crooked. You try to get them so they go straight, because if they start crossing like that, oh, it's just terrible, because you'll get 2 or 3 that will drop into your trough, and you only want one at a time. It's just a lot easier if it's just one in there. I'm just loading up the live deck, and like I said, whenever you stack them, you're creating problems, because you'll have some that will fall, and you get 2 at a time. It's coming around. I filled up a bunch. Now I'm just going to bring the trailer around, the tractor around the trailer, and then I'm just going to move it forward about right there. It's kind of hard from the tractor to see. I went too far, because you want it to fall just past the peak on the other one. So, but it'll work either way. And again, just another time lapse here. You can see I moved the trailer and just kind of filling it up. And once the pieces start falling out the back of the trailer, I consider it done. I'll stop, and then you pick the stuff off the ground, and then you go and throw it into a bin. So here you can see I'm just cutting some more stuff here, nothing special. It's just about as fast as it goes. You can see I'm advancing a log while one's being split. And the clamp comes down again. The clamp, see, I don't go real high. You're just far enough out of the way so you don't hit the bar and chain, and close enough that if it starts to fall, you can kind of quick clamp down and grab it with the clamp, because if you do that, you can keep it from falling in on you. Here, I'm just going to cut a cookie off. Yep, gotta cut a cookie. That's what's nice about this processor, is that you can reach in, you can adjust stuff, you can spin things around. If you get one that's got a big knot on one end, and instead of putting that into the splitting head first, you can spin it around so that you're not splitting into that, you know, a nasty crotch where it's going to jam, because that can happen. I split yesterday. I did 2 loads, and I only had one piece the whole day that got stuck. So you can see the sizes here that are coming through with the 8-way, and this is it looks like it might be a 12-inch or so, 10 or 12-inch log. Real nice size splits, just real nice. See, if you look just below the clamp there up at the top, see that knot there that is clamped on? Sometimes you won't see those coming and you'll hit the clamp and it'll just stop, but that's going to be an issue when it goes through the, yeah, that one's going to twist around and cause all kinds of issues. Because I think it did get jammed. I edited that out because it got jammed on me. I had to crawl up in there and push it out and spin it around. There I brought the final cut tray in there, and I did that because I was cutting that knot out because it was causing problems with the last one, so I just cut that knot off. And you got to cut a little off anyway in there. I left the tray up so now I can cut it, and I could have left it there, but what happens is when the saw is going down on it, it pushes down on that tray, causing more pressure, and then sometimes it doesn't want to go back in because there's so much pressure on it because you're pushing on it. But it worked. You just drop the last one in. There, I think if it had a little faster infeed, maybe it would shoot out a little bit and it wouldn't drop in like that. But sometimes there's nothing you can do. Most of the time they fall in just fine. Here I'm trying to advance one, and I can see they're crossed in the back. You can see me going with the live deck back and forth, and then 2 wanted to fall in. So I'm going to go down to the other end, I think. Maybe I didn't. It must have came through enough. There, I just had to raise the saw out of the way. And then we'll go it again. Sometimes you'll get 2 in there, but only 1 will advance because the teeth on the infeed chain are not hitting one of them. And one of them it does, so you can see it's cutting. Now, if you just, some people look at this, like I said, and they'll say, oh, it's not cutting as fast as some other machines. Look at how fast that cuts compared to a chainsaw. And you're not hanging on to the chainsaw. You got a lever you're flicking back and forth. It's so much easier. It is a true game changer. I can see where if you're cutting and selling wood, you get to the point where you're not physically enjoying the cutting wood with a chainsaw. You get a processor like this and you can do so much more. There, I'm just going to hold it, see how much faster that is. It's just faster reaching into it, but it's so much easier to run a processor than it is a chainsaw. It's just night and day, and also you can get a lot more done. I could, by myself, if I started early in the morning, I know I could do 3 trailer loads full, so that would end up being 4, 2, 3, yeah, about 4 full cords, 4.5 maybe. I could easily do that, and I think I could even do 4 trailer loads. And 4 trailer loads would end up being, that would be, let's see, 4 to be 16, 18, not quite 6 full cords, something like that. And that's with this processor, and this isn't a super fast one. If you get a fast one, you could do a semi-load a day, which a semi-load for us is 12 full cords. With a big processor, you can do that. But like I said, this one is not a big processor. It's very economical. Average guy could buy this. If somebody wanted to buy this because they heat with wood, or they got a bunch of buildings that they heat, so they go through a lot of wood, this one would make sense to buy. Or if, say, a couple brothers or a couple buddies, or if a guy wanted to process wood for himself and then maybe rent it out or process other people's wood, this machine would do that just fine. And it's not like a machine that you would get for like a full-time firewood business. This is more something I think that you would get if it's a part-time thing, like I have. So yeah, it works out really good. Here, when I think, yeah, it wanted to drop in, it wouldn't go, and then I think I got him crossed down there. This is the one. So I have to go down there. There's a piece of ironwood that you can see where it's not all the way in the trough. So I'm going to go down there and I'm just going to lift one up and then shove that one in from the other end. Again, you can't do this with a big processor because you're either in a cab or in your chair and you can't get up there. And this one is just so user friendly. It's just awesome to use. And moving around is good for you. You know, just sit in one spot the whole time you're processing you got to get out once in a while. So yeah, this piece of ironwood you can see, that's really really hard wood. You can see that one that's in the trough with it. It's coming now. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the clamp to block that second log from coming in, because that second log is going to want to ride right with it. I'm just clearing some stuff out there so you can see I clamped it. Ooh, I didn't even clamp that back one. There's just enough pressure in there to hold it. Usually if you don't get the clamp on it, it'll tumble on you. It'll roll. There I'm using the clamp to hold it back. It's probably not what you're supposed to do, but if a small log like this, you can do it. It's not that bad. A big log, I would not do that, because you'd have all that weight plus the weight of the log catching on the teeth on the infeed tray would really make it hard. But with this one, it's not too bad. With a small one like that, where you got maybe a 6-inch piece of wood there, you can see I'm just kind of holding it back, and then I was kind of reaching and straightening it out a little bit, because it was kind of starting to come down. There we go. Sometimes you just got to rock them a little bit. And again, in a big processor, you can't do that fine tuning of stuff. What you end up doing with a big processor, because they are fast, they are powerful, but usually you're in a booth or in a chair and you're out of the way, at least the ones I've run, you can't get in there and finesse the wood. You're going to crush wood. That's what you're going to do. You're going to crush a lot of wood. It's going to stand up. It's going to turn sideways. It's going to twist. You're going to have pieces that are just not cooperating. And by being able to kind of fix them up a little bit like I've been doing here, you can keep the wood looking good. You can just really make really nice, pretty splits, the right size. And I know some people look at this stuff and they'd say, oh, those are toothpicks. I get that. But like I've said lots of times, I don't sell very much boiler wood. The boiler wood I sell, I can custom cut to what they want. This stuff is drinking wood. This is going to people that are putting it in their fire pits in their backyard or their fireplace. And most people have small fireplaces with inserts. They don't have great big wide open fireplaces. They have high efficiency stoves now, or high efficiency inserts in their fireplace. Here there's a piece coming right now. It's got a bad cut in. I think this was it's a piece that's kind of got a big twist on there. So I'm just going to trim that off. And that's another thing that's kind of nice, really just trim off some of the garbage, because you're going to end up with a cookie anyway. So sometimes I'll cut it first, just kind of trim the ends up to get rid of that debris there and just throw it down into the tray is what I do a lot of times. And so yeah, this was a base of a tree. You can see where it split when they cut it. Must have been a co tree. My guess was there's two trees going together. That's what that looks like. And here we're just gonna, what the heck, there we go, now it's coming through. But yeah, nice splits. The 8 ways is like my favorite. That's, if I had to pick just one, that would be it. Because you can raise it up all the way and you can do a single split with it on the bottom with small stuff. Or you can raise it up a little bit and you can do a 4-way split. Or you can let it go right down the middle and you can get 8 pieces, which is nice. So all around it's a really good one. There you see that knot that the clamp hit at the top there. That kind of stuff can cause issues, because if it doesn't land just right, when it goes into the trough there, you can get it where it stands up and you get a crooked cut. There, I'm just must be cutting the back side of it. Usually if you get a big knot like that, you want it on the back. You don't want it up front. Like you can see now that next one coming. I think I might be trimming that off. I can't remember if I trimmed it off or not. No, it's going to cut the whole thing, because I got most of the knot cut. But I did that because I knew it was going to fall in there. Yeah, that's not a real big knot. If it was a big chunk of wood with a big knot, a lot of times I'll try to spin it around so that it's not causing an issue. You know, my last cut like that, a lot of times if it's 15 inches, it's no big deal. If it's 17 inches, it's no big deal. What people don't want is they don't want 19 or 20 inches, because if they're going to put it in a wood rack, you get pieces sticking out funny, and that's not good. Oh, so here we got 2 that were crossed, so I'm going to push that one off and then roll the other one over the top and get it into the trough. And that does happen often, especially with crooked ones. And that one looks like it's a banana coming in there. It looks like it's a dandy. To me, the snakes and the bananas are the ones that you're almost better off just putting them to the side and cutting with a chainsaw. Now watch how this will drop down. The front will drop on it. I guess that was not too bad. Some of them, they'll like arch way down, and then you get a real crooked cut on the backside. See how that started to slide up on the push plate there? And here it's going to drop down again. See how that kind of dove down? That happens with the bananas. And that kind of stuff happens too. But again, You just reach in, fix it. So nice to be right there and have that access. If I was to buy a processor or to recommend one to someone, get one that's easy to access into your splitting chamber. I know a lot of them have rollers and things like that. Ooh, that one kind of did all kinds of nasty stuff. So you can see what happens when you get the crooked cuts, they'll stand up like that. Because if you get a processor where you can't get in there and you have to reach out with a pickaroon or something where you can try to move them around, it's really hard. You almost need a ground guy, someone just to fix all the issues that's happening with a big processor, because it might not pay for a full-time producer to have a ground guy, and it might not pay for them to crawl out and fix the crooked pieces, because you're going to just stand them up and you're going to crush them, because it's just more expensive to do it that way. But if you want your wood to look good, that one might kind of crooked. If you want your wood to look good, you got to fix stuff, because wood is imperfect. There's just no way to make it perfect. Hey, there's that tip tray again. Look at that. And it did. That final cut tray does help the pieces from falling down and in. Because if you get one that's 12 inches and above and it takes a nosedive and you got basically two rounds in there on that last piece, because of the length of it, it's hard to get out of there. There's been a few times where I had to use the tractor because I wasn't watching and I dove down in there, a big one, and I could not lift it out of there because they were just too big. You get a 18, 19, 20 incher and it dives down in there on you, and it's 32, 36 inches, whatever it is. They're hard to lift because they're standing up and they're down in a hole there and you got all that metal around you. But I've done it a few times. One of these days on a video I'll show you how I have to get them out, either using the tractor grapple or just reaching in and lifting them out. So just kind of keep processing here, and you can see the wood that's past the splitting area there, where it just kind of keeps going, and as the elevator gets rid of it, it clears out pretty good by itself. Once in a while I'll have to reach in because you have one that's like sideways or something and it's causing issues holding the other ones back. But this size stuff, these smaller pieces like this, are really easy to process. You can see that's only like about a 5 or 6 incher there. Yeah, it's about a 5 incher, because that's about how wide the splitting chamber is, where the ram slides back and forth and it falls right in there. Now that's another issue with some of the bigger processors. They have a much wider rail area for the ram to slide on. And if you get little bitty pieces, little wood, it goes crooked on you, and you either get no split or it just turns and you split it in half and you just crush it. Which is another reason that you want nice size wood. And if you get a processor that's got a narrower rail like that, where the ram is sliding, it's nice because it holds the pieces really well if they're smaller. But that's nice size stuff right there. That's, I don't know, like about I was to guess it's maybe 10 inches. That's a nice size. If I had to pick one size, it would be around 8 to no more than 12 inches all day long. 10s are just really nice. You get really nice size splits out of them. But yeah, the machine's working good. It was a beautiful day. And it seems like the more you process, the more you like it, because you get better at it. You can read the wood better. You kind of know what the wood's going to do. The functions, you kind of know what you can and can't do. By reading the wood, it kind of tells you how to handle a piece. If you need to rock it in the tray a little bit there in the infeed, or if you need to roll it over. Oh, there we go, it kind of fell in. Sometimes you're better off spinning them around, because it'll split better from the fresh cut, but this one's a dry cut. And especially with wood that's been sitting a while, ash is one of the worst ones. It has a really hard time breaking that first dry butt end. If it's been drying for a long time, it'll pop almost like it explodes through it. Plenty of ram power on this one, though. It's not an issue here. I'm just picking some back through and doing some resplits. I think we're kind of towards the end here of the live deck. I'm not sure if I've got any more up there. I can't tell. Yeah, sometimes you can just pull those pieces like that and slide them back in there. I think I'm just kind of clearing out the bottom. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll throw a small one that doesn't even need resplitting just to pull another one out. And like I said, most of these don't need resplits. Even that one right there, it's not terrible sized. But it's nice to be able to do it and knock them down if I can. So let's see here if we got any more coming. Yep, yeah, there's more up on the live deck. I didn't know there was any up there. So here comes another small one. Yeah, there was a lot of small sticks in this load. Not too many bigger ones. But if, like I said that, you know, if you're going to process, it's nice to have stuff that's pretty consistent. And I guess I'd rather have consistently small and medium ones than all huge ones. The huge ones are great because you get a lot of wood and you can make wood fast. But that's the stuff I generally kind of save more for the boiler wood. And for the people I sell to, this is the kind of stuff that I can make good wood fast. So, you know, all those little slivers in there, that kindling that's popping up, and I think I grabbed those and just throw them off to the side. What you're going to see later on, the last few days now, I took a bladder and I cut a hole in it so it's just sitting there, and I can throw the slivers and the kindling right into the bladder instead of just throwing them on the ground so I have to handle them again. So here's cutting a cookie off. And again, I could have left that. That's only like 2 inches I cut off. So it would have been like an 18-incher. But there you go. I'm not sure if there's any more on the live deck. I can't remember if there's any up there. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, here comes one more. One more little guy. Now the little ones can be an issue because they don't clamp as well, because if they get into a corner, sometimes there's like a dead space in a corner there, the really small ones that are like 3 inches, and the clamp will only go down to about 3.5 inches, so it can be a little space there. So sometimes you got to reach in and just kind of slide them a little bit so the clamp actually holds them, because you do not want a loose log with that saw hitting it, because it tumbles. You hit with so much force with that chain and bar when it comes down that it'll tumble on you just like it would with the chainsaw. It'll actually throw the log, so you want to get a good secure clamp. So I think we got a couple more here, and then not sure if there's another one coming or not. I can't remember. Yeah, let that one go. There might be one more log. Here. Oh no, I'm just clearing everything out. So when you're processing, you can see that little gap right where the trough, the outfeed goes, and where the elevator join. When you get a pile of wood there, sometimes you get some odd ones, and they'll fall down onto the ground, and they can fall out on either side. So you got to pick them up off the ground, but you might only get a little bit. So you can see how full the trailer is. There's pieces actually falling out. So that's why I quit. I could have processed some more, and then I just wanted to get them all out of there because I was going to clear the machine out after this. So I try to clear all the debris out just to keep everything working so I don't get any jams. But the pieces are falling right back out of the trailer as fast as I'm putting them in, but I don't even know it because I'm not watching, and I got muffs on so I can't even hear it. Just kind of picking out the small stuff. So then the trays below, I've ran 2 loads here I think now. So the trays will need to be cleaned out about every 2 loads. It seems to be about right. I've done 3, and if you go down underneath, in between each load, you can kind of spread it out, and then the debris doesn't build up so much so that it's causing problems and it's not falling down all the way. But see on that bottom left corner, all the kindling that I threw out, and that's pretty easy to do as we go here. See, I just hooked up the trailer, and we're going to take it out into the field. We're going to go out to a bin, and we're going to back up to the elevator, and then we're going to do a little bit of unloading. You can see I got lots of work there. That's all done now. I got that all done in the last couple of weeks since I've recorded this. And actually the bin that we're backing up to where the elevator's in, that is completely full now. Since this load, I think I've put in 5 or 6 more loads that you're going to see coming up. I'm just backing up, and then we're going to unload. Well, there, I just ran that load, and what I did is as I was processing, if I saw small stuff, kindling, I just tossed it out here. So maybe that'll save a little bit of time if I do it that way by grabbing it as I see it, you know, as I'm doing resplits and stuff like that. And if I see a piece of kindling, I can toss it off to the side. So maybe I'll put a tote there, and I can start just throwing it right into a tote, and then maybe do another tote out here. on a pallet so that it's secure when I'm loading all the wood into the elevator or separating the big rounds that need to be resplit. So I just backed up the trailer over here and I got the elevator moved. So now I'm right in that hole right there. So that should be filled in next, and got everything kind of staged here. So you can see here that stuff needs resplit. That stuff there is the kindling. And I'm going to unload this